How you doing? I was wrong about the incursion hacks. Well, kind of. Here's the problem. I made an earlier video about the incursion hacks. I had to redo it because this is the most important news in MCOC, and as far as I know, Kabam has not addressed it. So I'm not really sure why, if it's intentional or it's a bug. So when it comes to the first hacks in the first zone, you're only limited to 5 choices, okay? And I do believe that this is it doesn't matter if it's one player or two players. So you're only limited to 5 choices, as you can see here. So if I pick Tide of Combat, when I go to the second hack, I'm not gonna see that anymore, okay? But when it comes to one player mode, you're only gonna be limited for the first 4 hacks: Armor Burst, Defensive Cascade, and At the Ready, and Special Counter. So let me repeat that again. When you go to Zone 4, if you're playing single player mode, you're only going to be limited to 4 hacks, which is Armor Burst, Defensive Cascade, At the Ready, and Special Counter, and you will see here. As you can see here, I'm in Zone 4. So when you do go to Zone 4, you're only going to be limited to 4 hacks. As you can see, Armor Burst, let me show you again. Armor Burst, Defensive Cascade, At the Ready, and Special Counter. This is only for single player mode. You will only have limited hacks. I'm not really sure why. And then when you go to Zone 8, you're only going to be, let's say you pick, in this case, let's say you pick Defensive Cascade, okay? Since I'm using Angela in this case. So since I'm using Angela in this case, I'm going to pick Defensive Cascade. And then when you go to Zone 8 for the first hack, you only have Armor Burst, At the Ready, and Special Counter. And you could see, similar to Chew Boom, this is what happens. As you can see, let's go to Chew Boom. So we are now Zone 8. Let's take a look at Chew Boom. He's going to go to the first hack. You're only limited to Armor Burst, Defense Cascade, and At the Ready. If this is only if you're single mode, so if you re-roll the hack, you're still gonna get the same hacks: Armor Burst, Defensive Cascade, and At the Ready. I know somebody mentioned this, and they said, "Is this a bug?" No, it's not a bug. Maybe it is. I don't know. But for single player, you're limited to hacks for some reason. However, there is 2 hacks in Zone 8. So when it comes to the first hack, you're only gonna be limited to this one. To these only 3, because as you know, he did the same thing. Oh, he didn't do the same thing as me, but he picked a Special Counter and Tide of Combat. So that's why he's only limited to 3 choices. So that's what's going to happen if you're playing single player mode, and let me know if that happens to you as well. But for some reason, if you're playing 2-player mode, let me just show you what I mean. For some reason, if you're playing 2-player mode, you have access to all the hacks. I'm not really sure why. As you can see here, this is MCOC Incursions. That's his YouTube channel, and he likes Incursion more than me. So for some reason, he says he does carry for Incursions for free. Okay, I'm not really sure why, but he's maybe just a nice person and likes Incursion. So as you can see here, when he went to Zone 4, he has Mutually Assured Destruction, so he has access to multiple hacks. But that's if you're playing 2-player mode. As you can see here, he really loves Incursion. I think this person loves Incursion more than I do. So I think this is like the 5th time or the 6th time he's been to Saga Sector Zone 15. So he carries people for free. So that's pretty crazy. That's not crazy in a bad way. I mean crazy in a good way, which is, I think, really nice of him. Okay, so as you can see here, you're playing 2-player mode. As you see the symbol, there's 2 players. As you can see, there's a number 2 sign. And he has access to multiple hacks. Not just they're not limited. This is only for 2 players. So let me just mention something else. I was wrong about Mr. Noob when I made a video about him, but kind of. So we were both wrong. Let me just explain. So we were both wrong when I made this video. Let me explain what he said that was wrong first. So first of all, when it comes to a power sting build, do not pick special counter. Pick title combat and hemostatic charge. Okay, if you're building a power sting build, okay, especially if you're gonna pick Spider Woman, you really want to have title combat over special counter. So that was the first thing he said that was wrong. And the second thing he said it was wrong, well, kind of, is when it comes to room 4, you're not gonna have access to Anthropic Shield if you're playing single player mode. You're not going to have access to that. Same thing with buff cornucopia. You're not going to have access to buff cornucopia. And when it comes to room 8, you're not going to have access to both martial artist and rage in combat. You're not going to be able to pick those two hacks if you're playing single player mode. But for some reason, if you're playing two player mode, you have access to all the hacks in room 4 and room 8 as well. But if you're playing single player mode, you're not going to have access to these hacks for some reason. So I don't know, it has something to do with, so I don't know if it has something to do with milestone 35, but like I said, it's a glitch. But this is, for some reason, multiple players, if you're playing with two players, when it comes to incursion, you have access to all the hacks. I'm not really sure what this is about, but hopefully if you're playing single player mode, you're going to have more access to different hacks, and we should be able to hit the 13 million mark within 3 days, possibly even just 2 days. So hopefully within 72 hours, we'll have access to this one when it comes to milestone 35. But there is a problem. It looks like you might need to have at least 115,000 points minimum, and I don't think many people will have 115,000 points when we reach 13 billion points. So I don't know. That's what so that's it. Thank you.